Yeah. And welcome to the Township Whitewater PM. And I'll just note that part of today's agenda includes a carry forward of some items from the last agenda on May 7th. And if there's any input from council, we can take it at item number 3 when we adopt the agenda. First item is our national anthem. Please stand and face the flag. Excellent, thank you. Next is our land acknowledgement. The deputy mayor is going to provide it for today.
Thank you, Mayor. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of the Township of Whitewater Region and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of Indigenous people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Next item is the adoption of the agenda. The recommendation is that the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the May 21st, 2025 agenda. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Trim, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. And again, I'll just note before I open it up to the floor that this agenda includes the items that were carried forward from May 7th. If it is missing any items, please, this is your opportunity to make sure that they're included. I also want to, our clerk, can you talk about the presentations?
So we had 2 presentations scheduled for 4:45. Both of them last night around dinner time canceled due to other obligations. Sorry, so we'll reschedule them at a later meeting.
Okay, so just note 6 has no presentations, item 6. Good. Any other additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda as presented? Good. I'm looking at Councillor Moore because that's your notice of motion. Your notice of motion is as you wanted it?
Yes, confirm.
Perfect. Excellent. Then we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried. Next is the adoption of the minutes. We have the May 7th minutes. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the May 7, 2025 minutes. A mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tabbert, seconded by Councillor Moore. Any errors, omissions noted in those minutes? Okay, I see none. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And there are no committees and boards minutes attached to the agenda at this time. Next is disclosures. Is there disclosures for any item that's going to appear on the agenda today? Okay, I see no disclosures. Next, we're skipping 6 anyway, but 7 is the mayor's address, and I have that available here. This time I have it sent to me. Deputy Mayor wasn't here, but last session, I emailed it to myself, but I emailed by the wrong one. So It was an abbreviated mayor's address. Excellent. Since our last meeting on May 7th, I attended 6 meetings and events on behalf of council. I also attended a county council meeting on May 14th and 2 Renfrew and County District Health Unit Committee meetings on May 13th and May 20th. This past weekend, we had a number of events here in Whitewater region, actually 2 weekends ago. Borca had their spring chicken bike race in the Beachburg area. Station 1 Fire Association hosted a cornhole tournament in honor of Roy Church. And the Haley United Church had their Maypole tea, which included a celebration of Hazel Hawthorne's 100th birthday. Thanks to all the community members who volunteered their time, sponsors who donated support and prizes, all to help host these great events here in the community. So it was great. And Hazel's birthday, we also had the MPP and our MP attend and recognize her 100th at that event. And I believe there may be another one coming up at the end of the month. I also had the opportunity to attend the Ottawa Valley Ontario Health Team's Aging in Place Forum, where they were gathering input for a long-term vision on how we can better support aging in place here in the county of Renfrew and Pembroke. We had a number of community members attending, including members of our Whitewater Seniors Working Group and staff. Lots of interests and really looking forward to the next steps. That was a really good forum. It's also currently National Public Works Week. Where's our manager of Public Works? Oh, he's hiding behind the computer. Nice. Multifaceted. Okay, and a time to honor the individuals who ensure our community's infrastructure and services run smoothly. We have a tremendous team across the board, but this week we want to specifically highlight our Public Works team for all the work they do on our 250 odd kilometers of road, ditches, our water and our wastewater and our landfill. And I probably missed something. No. So there's lots they do. So on behalf of council, we thank you. And our last update on the Ottawa River, probably our last update on the Ottawa River as the levels slowly begin to recede. It has been over 3 weeks of stress for a number of residents who live along the river. At this time, MNR has ended the flood warning, and our team continues to monitor the private roads that still have water on them and share these details with first responders. And that ends my mayor's report for today. Is there any questions or comments from members of council on anything I presented? You guys are easy crowd today. Excellent. Next is item number 8, which is public comments. Clerk.
We received none.
Excellent. So that moves us on to our first item on the agenda. And I'll note that the next item is 9.1. But that is scheduled to start at 3 o'clock due to we're getting a presentation virtually from some consultants. So we will skip on to 9.2 as is noted on the agenda. We'll carry on until we hit 3 o'clock and then we'll jump back to 9.1. Good. So the first item on the agenda is a report back from staff on strong mayor powers. The recommendation is that the council of the Township Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes relating to the Strong Mayors Building Homes Act 2022. A mover and a seconder, please. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Trim. Excellent. And I'm going to hand this back over to the CAO.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I'll make presentation of the report to members of council. I will note Clerk Carmen Miller did prepare the content of the report. So thank you for your assistance with that. Council will be aware that we received a letter from the minister back in early or rather late April with respect to changes to some provincial legislation relating to strong mayor powers. So the present report is for information purposes at the present moment. And we are planning on, as this unfolds across the province, likely returning to council in July. So maybe the second meeting of July with more information. So what we're finding is As early as yesterday, I received an email from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing hosting a webinar about strong mayor powers. So while it is enacted, it's in place, they're still disseminating the processes, the information to municipalities through the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So there's still webinars being put on by the province to try to explain what all this means. We've taken, the Office of the CEO, taken a quick try at explaining it to members of council, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that we could respond to. Otherwise, we'll collect the information and include it in our next report in July. So this dates back to July 2022. At that point in time, the province had adopted the Strong Mayors and Building Homes Act 2022, which enhanced powers for mayors in the cities of Toronto and Ottawa. So those were the two municipalities that were initially part of this. The whole purpose of it was to streamline municipal decision-making related to provincial housing objectives. And we hear about it in all of the news broadcasts, housing across the whole nation. So further to that, there was another act that was passed later that year, and it expanded the strong mayor powers in those two communities. And then subsequently, 1 year later, July 1st, 2023, the strong mayor powers were extended to another 26 municipalities. And in this case, they required that those municipalities commit to housing targets. The housing targets is no longer being requested from the 169 new municipalities, but that was required in 2023. And just shy of a year later, they've expanded, or rather 2 years later, in April or in May 1st, 2025. The strong mayor powers have been expanded to 169 municipalities. And how the province has decided to implement that to 169 municipalities was based on composition of 6 members or more was listed as one of the municipalities as receiving the strong mayor powers. So in Renfrew County, those with 5 or less members are not listed as a municipality in the legislation. Question comes up, well, if we reduced our council composition to 5, would we be able to remove ourselves from this? Well, the reality is we're listed as a municipality in the legislation. Us reducing our composition does not remove our name from the regulation or legislation. So we'd have to petition to the province to remove our name from it. So at this stage, the message we understand is no, reducing our council composition to 5 will not remove these new powers, if you will. So I'll briefly review the analysis section of the report. Ultimately, there's three sort of areas of powers. And these are ultimately established in the Municipal Act. So in the Municipal Act, they've amended the Municipal Act to add powers to the head of council. And then there's regulations associated with that act. But supporting provisions, what's really important here is that in any case where the mayor exercises their powers, they have to do so in writing. So that has to be in writing, and they have to give notice to the clerk. The mayor may give direction to staff, again, must be in writing, must be delivered next business day to the clerk and CAO. So there are some, if you will, processes that need to be followed with respect to the utilization of these powers. Again, mayor must declare any interest, like we just did in our pecuniary interest section of our agenda. So they'd have to declare any interest or conflict with respect to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. And then the municipality must maintain a public registry of declared interest. And in the case of a vacancy, the appointed mayor or deputy mayor do not get the powers. It's the newly elected mayor in the case of a vacancy. So the 3 powers are with respect to advancing prescribed provincial priorities. The second one is with respect to administrative and structure of the municipality. And the third one is with respect to the duty to prepare an annual budget. So firstly, to advance prescribed priorities, provincial priorities. So the provincial priorities are listed in regulation. They include new residential units to achieve the 1.5 by December 2031. And then building and maintaining infrastructure related to transit, roads, utilities, servicing that support housing. So the mayor in this sort of list of powers, they could advance or introduce new matters to council without any prior notice. Secondly, they could bring to council and require council to consider and vote on Municipal Act, Development Charge Plan Act bylaws to advance provincial priorities. And then where there's decisions relating to Municipal Act, Development Charge or Plan Act bylaws, the mayor could veto a decision that interferes with prescribed provincial priorities. So the first two, I think, are pretty general. The mayor is allowed to introduce new matters to council without prior notice. A little bit different than a notice of motion, but they're allowed to bring new topics to the table of council. Second one, bring it to council and require council to vote on certain bylaws. And then thirdly, the veto one. So the veto one is what does this mean, right? So I know the clerk has distributed a bit of a chart to explain what the process is. It's not as easy as the mayor of this municipality wishes to veto this bylaw and it's over. If the mayor chooses to veto a bylaw, they must do so within a prescribed time frame of 2 days. If they don't do it in 2 days, well, the bylaw is passed as the council passed it. If there is a veto, then there's a time lapse. I believe it's 21 days where the council can choose to bring the agenda item back and then overturn the veto of the mayor. So it kind of delays decisions, if you will, if there's vetoes and non-declaration of veto. But in any case, there's a process and that's ultimately established in regulations. And I mean, we could continue to define that to the members of council should the case arise. So under this first large grouping of powers to advance prescribed provincial priorities, these powers cannot be delegated. They can't be delegated to the CAO. They can't be delegated to all of council. So they're there, they exist, and it's at the discretion of the mayor to use them. The second series of powers, administrative and structure of the municipality. So again, this must be direction to staff is required to be in writing. It must be provided to the CAO and clerk and then distributed to members of council. So if the mayor chooses to utilize these powers, council will be communicated through the CAO and the clerk. So there's a few items there. There's 6 noted, one of which is to appoint and dismiss CAO, hire and dismiss division heads, determine the organizational structure, establish prescribed committees, appoint chairs and vice chairs to those committees. And 6, these powers can be delegated. So those are ultimately the 5 large headings around the administrative and structure of the municipality, the authority, the power of the mayor. And again, these powers can be delegated. All of which can be delegated with the exception of the mayor may delegate these powers as he, except for the first one where they could hire or dismiss the CAO. So that summarizes that section with respect to the administrative and structure of the municipality. The third one, duty to prepare an annual budget. Essentially, it becomes the duty of the mayor to present the budget to the members of council, prepare and present the budget to the members of council. As we understand it through the webinars we've watched, what municipalities who already have these powers are observing is solely the mayor working a little bit more with the treasurer to come to council with a budget. Not one where the mayor is preparing spreadsheets and using our GL codes and all that. It's mostly the mayor working together with the treasurer to bring forward a budget to the members of council as a whole. So in my asterisks at the end of that section, so it has been seen that the mayor have chosen to direct municipal administration to bring a budget in line with previous direction of council under the authority of the mayor, as well as to have forfeited the duty to submit a budget, which has left the approval of the budget up to council to determine. So there is a process there where they could forfeit their right to do that based on timeframes. February, you might have heard, and other things. So there's a process with respect to the budget. It's slightly outlined here where the duty to the mayor to present the budget. If they fail to do that by February, then it becomes a council budget. If the mayor presents a budget, there's a power to amend the budget with certain amount of voting and the like. There's a whole process to that, and we'll engage in that process when the time comes when we come start our budgets, kind of sort of July and August. So So that summarizes that section. So that, I mean, very high level with respect to what all this means. I will note that to the members of council, we did distribute a presentation from a lawyer to another neighboring municipality, which spoke about a bit of the background. Why does this exist? Why is this coming forward? Spoke a bit about what's in my report in greater detail, if you will. We've engaged with our lawyer that we use commonly. At this stage, we're not really seeing where we would need to amend our procedural bylaws or the like. We're going to continue to work with Mayor Nicholson to make him understand what all this means, where he can delegate should he choose to do so. And that we're hopeful that working together we'll come back in July with more information, more understanding of what it means and what the mayor chooses to do in our particular case. So glad to take questions. Probably won't have an answer, but I will bounce them off my colleagues and our colleagues at the clerk's office to get some responses and come back in July with more details. Thanks.
Thanks, CAO. Appreciate that summary. And we know it's only a preliminary understanding of it. Their Municipal Affairs and Housing will do that presentation. The technical brief, they're calling it. I think June 2nd, we'll be able to appreciate a little bit more. So what I'd like to do now, if council will support, I understand there may be other resolutions on this. What I'd like to do is give council an opportunity to interact on what's been presented. And if there's no other comments, I'll see if there is an additional resolution that might be wanting to be put on the floor. Is that a fair approach for everybody? Just to give everybody an opportunity to speak to what's been presented at this point in time. Good. All right, with that, we'll open up to the floor. Does anybody have any questions, comments related to what the CAO has presented us? Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much. Well, this certainly changes where I was going with this at the beginning. I didn't realize we were going to be coming back in July, but I do still have some concerns here. I think a few things have been addressed. AMCTO is very strong, active in this. I think moving forward, we've got a lot of more questions and answers yet that still have to be answered. And I definitely saw this with the presentation that came from the previous municipality that we were able to look at. And so moving forward, the only thing that I would like to see is I think we still have to be strong here. I think I'm still not in agreement with what is happening here. And what I would still like to do is move eventually, if everyone would be in agreement, I would like to move a resolution very similar to the one of the town of Petawawa. And if I would get any support on that, I would certainly be very acceptable to that. If there's any, I don't see any other alternative. At this point in time, it's a done deal. There's not a lot we can do, but I think we can still advocate. And I think that's what we have to do, is just advocate that we have to keep moving forward and I cannot see this going through. I can't. I really struggle with that. Thank you.
Good. Other comments or questions? Yeah, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, similarly, I probably have at least 100 questions lined
Yeah.
up. So I think I'll just defer to the July 7th meeting and see what more details come out of that. It's really, really top level at this point. So I'd like to get into the weeds of it and see what it really means.
Any other? Yeah, Councillor Moore.
Is this coming up in June at AMO, and will it be coming up at Roma in January? And this appears to be a done deal, but yet other municipalities are sort of starting to speak out against it. So just, I know where we stand now, but is this the end all, or are we going to be seeing this again in the future?
I think do you want me to try to answer first, or do you have a response? The approach from the government is this is a done deal. Legislation was passed 1st of May. It's done. They have received a number of resolutions. but they've taken no action. So if there is discussion about this at AMO or Roma, it will be from the floor, or it'll be technical briefs to educate people on lessons learned on implementation, tweaking of the policies, those kinds of things. That would be my anticipation of that. I haven't seen anything else for me. So sorry, and I'm just gonna offer the CAO a chance if he wants to add
Okay.
anything.
Yeah, so just, I would just highlight that in our agenda tonight, we do have the listed proposed delegations for AMO, one of which is we're proposing to meet with the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So should this be an item to advocate for, perhaps we do so in conjunction with other topics with the minister, if we get the minister. So we could add that as a listed item.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Counselor Tabor.
I'm just wondering, and maybe because, I don't know, but why were we not made aware of this before it was all put together and passed? I mean, was council or I guess the previous council or our CAO or our clerk or anybody notified that this was coming down the pipes? Like, is this normal for the provincial government to just say, bang, it's done? I just need to know that because this just doesn't seem right that it's happened and we're now, our hands are tied basically, I think. I mean, we can send a letter, we can send a letter saying we disagree, but I mean, it's like we've said before, like all councils have said before, why are you coming to council now to disagree with something when we've passed it already? It's a done deal. So while I strongly agree that we need to do something, I don't know why we want to put time into something like this when it's a done deal. I'm having a hard time with this. And I just realized now that this was done all before. And now we're gonna start smacking our heads against the wall when maybe there's other things we can be discussing.
And for the staff perspective, we were not aware that this would be implemented among many more municipalities until we received the letter that was dated sort of mid-April, early April. And we attended Roma with members of council, and there was no indication that this was coming forward at Roma, which was in January of this year. There was no indication of such. So yeah, we're not tracking anything in advance of April when we received that letter that this would be coming to more municipalities. Thanks.
No, and I can confirm the same. I received no notification besides the media alert that a letter had been issued. So yes, they made the decision and they exercised their powers. Good. Just before I come back to the deputy mayor, I'm just going to go and give everybody a first chance. Councillor Trim.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a comment. I understand that the Ford government got a very strong mandate and was reelected, and their platform was to build more houses. This is what they believe is a solution. So they're not asking for comments or support or anything. This is done, and I very, very much appreciate the work that's been done by staff to help me understand what has been done, and I really appreciate any more ongoing information because this is certainly very high level, and that's what we have now. But as more information comes, I really appreciate getting it. And yeah, it's just something that we need to work with, whether we like it or not. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Excellent. Good. Anyone else before I go back to the deputy mayor? Good. Deputy mayor.
Yeah, and I agree. It was a done deal. It came April 6th. We had 3 weeks to deal with this, 3 weeks. So that's what the Ford government did. We had 3 weeks as municipal. That's what we had to deal with. And this is huge. It shouldn't have even been part of the discussion talking about housing. This should have been a situation of its own, dealt with on its own terms. This was slid in here underneath this housing deal. Like, anyway, once again, I am looking forward to coming back in July. I agree with Councillor, with everyone else sitting at this table. There's nothing, it's a done deal. They've done it. But I still think we have to advocate on behalf of the other 169 municipalities because they're all in this, most of us are in the same boat. And if we do absolutely nothing, well, then it'll just slide by. It'll just keep sliding by. If at least we advocate, if we can at least bring something forward, like they did with the town of Petawawa, that's just where I'm sitting with it. If nobody else is in agreement and we want to wait till July, I'm okay with that too. But I just think we have to advocate somehow and have our voice out there somewhere that this doesn't, that we're not happy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? Yes, Councillor Homestead, good.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just reading through some of the notes. I think this document has a chance to be counterproductive. And there's an opportunity for councils to become dysfunctional. And so just reading some of the special powers and duties of the mayor, for example, bring to council, require council to consider and vote on bylaws that advance prescribed priorities, et cetera, with only 1/3 vote of members. But below it says veto bylaws that interfere with prescribed priorities subject to council override by 2/3 vote. So you could be delaying decisions, very important decisions. You know, if they want to build houses, you could actually slow the process down considerably. I'm more about removing red tape and processes and speeding things up. And this has the opportunity to do the exact opposite. And just to the dysfunctional part, the mayor has so just think if some townships don't have a trustworthy mayor, they now have the ability to appoint and dismiss CAOs. So if they have somebody that's holding them accountable, that mayor can dismiss a CAO because he's being held accountable. Appoint and dismiss heads of organizational units, and the list goes on. So there's some red flags, obviously, that go up that I think this has the potential to stall out a lot of these organizational priorities that the province has of building homes fast. I think it could actually really slow it down. Anyway, just a few points. Thank you.
Good. Any others before I go into it? No? Good. There's one question I had. I just wanted to amplify just the way the report is written. Sorry, and the clerk is just trying to locate an email for me, but there is a point in there about the mayor being able to delegate the authorities with respect to organization, division chiefs and organization. I think that's points 2 and 3. Point 1 is CAO. Point 4 and 5 have to do with committees. So although the point at the bottom of that section says that the mayor has the authority to delegate all these functions to the CAO, I think it would exclude items 4 and 5. CAO, can you confirm that?
Yeah, and I mean, without having the legislation in front of me, I would think that it would be delegated to all of council and not the CAO in the cases of items 4 and 5 with respect to committees. But I'd have to reconfirm that. Yeah.
Perfect. I just wanted to, for the record, if there's public that are going to look back on this, they'll be able to recognize there's one area that we just need to confirm. Because right now the CAO doesn't create committees or appoint committees. That's still council. So it wouldn't be a change to the way we normally do business. Good. If everyone's done comment, and I wanted to hold my comments until everybody had a chance to comment. I too accept that we are essentially, we exist at the purview of the province. So yes, they can make these kinds of decisions and impose them upon us. That's what the Municipal Act says. However, I believe, as a number of you have already indicated, that we still need to voice our objection to this and what it does to impact democracy in our rural community. I'm going to highlight a couple of points. The first one is and Councillor Olmsted mentioned this specifically, the erosion of the majority rule. You're essentially giving the mayor, in our situation, 2 votes. 3 members of council is all that's required to pass a specific resolution. So you're basically giving the mayor the ability to tip it in the opposite direction if the mayor in the position deems that appropriate. It diminishes the voice of those elected by the public. So each of us have been elected to do a specific job here, and your voice would be diminished by that of the mayor for these specific areas that he's allowed to exercise the rights in. The second point is concerns about transparency and the independence of public administrators. If the mayor has the authority to reorganize the township staff, if he has the authority to hire and fire division heads, he has the authority to hire and fire the CAO, no longer can council, there's that seed of doubt whether or not what you're being presented is independent public administrator opinion, or has it been influenced by the fact that their employment rests in the power of the mayor? So there's that erosion of transparency and the independence of our public administrators. The third is the potential for political influence, favoritism for the staffing of the CAO position. The mayor, and it has happened in other communities already, where the mayor is exercises authority to hire whom he wants, or she. And they have that vested authority. With just a written note and a notice to the clerk, you could have a brand new CAO working. So that potential for political influence and favoritism is just unacceptable to me for us to be able to exercise democracy in our community. From my perspective, I'm going to be looking to delegate wherever possible and to work with the staff to establish processes in the other areas to make sure that I can do as much as possible to address the erosion of democracy, majority rule, transparency, and the independence of our staff. We have the technical briefing on the 2nd. With that information and with whatever other information we can gather up until July 7th, we'll come back to council with a plan going forward. And we'll be able to take your input, but I'm not sure we'll be able to change the direction the province has had, but I think it is incumbent upon us to formally object to this erosion of what I would call democracy in our community. Good. If there's no other comments, I don't see any. CAO, you don't have any other comments at this point in time? I'm going to ask, I know the mayor may have, or the deputy mayor may have a resolution she wants to put on the floor.
Thank you very much. And I think it would just kind of echo the resolution that was brought forth to the town of Petawawa. And I don't know if you want me just to read out or can.
We're going to try to just give me a second and we'll see if we can get a copy for the clerk to put up. Then you should read it.
Are we good? Yeah.
Okay, let me try.
Just
Good. Can you put it on the screen? There we go. Good. Floor is back to the deputy mayor.
Change this wording around a little bit. So whereas the province of Ontario has proposed to designate the township of Whitewater Region as a strong mayor community, granting enhanced powers to the mayor effective May 1st, 2025. And whereas the strong mayor powers significantly alter the balance of governance at the municipal level, undermining the role of council in decision-making and whereas the township of Whitewater Region has a long history of collaborative, transparent, and accountable local governments built upon a foundation of council, debate, and shared decision-making. And whereas many municipally elected officials across the province and members of the public have expressed significant concern regarding the imposition of these powers. And whereas the township of Whitewater Region did not formally request or express a desire to be designated under the strong mayor framework. And whereas a growing number of municipalities and elected officials across Ontario are questioning the appropriateness of the strong mayor system and are calling for its reconsideration or appeal. And therefore, be it resolved that the township of Whitewater Region formally request that the Premier of Ontario and the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing immediately remove the township of Whitewater Region from the list of municipalities designated under the strong mayor legislation. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Premier of Ontario, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, Housing, and all regional members of provincial government. Thank you.
Good. And do I have a seconder? I see Councillor Tabbert. Good. It's on the floor. Is there any comments or discussion by members of council? Good. With that, I have to vote on this resolution before I go back to the first one, right, Cliff? Good. All right. And with that, we will call for a vote on Deputy Mayor's resolution. All those in favor? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
Good. And if there's no other final comments, we'll go back to the original recommendation that's before us. That the council of the Township of Whitewater Region receive this report for information purposes relating to the Strong Mayor's Building Homes Act 2022. And this was moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Trim. And I will call for the vote. All those in favor? And it's carried unanimously. Excellent. And we'll see this topic again in July with some more detail. Good. Thank you for that. Good. And we have time to continue on, Clerk?
Yes, 14 minutes.
Perfect. We'll go on to item 9.3, which is RFP for accessible picnic tables. The recommendation is the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the award of RFP 2025-17 accessible picnic tables, purchase of 10 accessible picnic tables to New World Park Solutions at a cost of $17,021.40 inclusive of non-refundable HST. A mover and a seconder, Councillor Bell and Councillor Trim. And this is back to Manager Community Service.
Thank you, Mayor. So part of the capital budget for 2025, the Community Services Department had requested funding for the purchase of new accessible picnic tables. The amount that was given for part of the capital budget was $15,000. The Township of Whitewater Region was seeking proposals from qualified firms. So you'll see a list in the report of all of the things that we requested. We didn't know the cost of one table versus 5 tables versus 15 tables. So we kind of made them all give us an amount for each of those table quantities so that we could determine how many we could purchase for the amount of funding that we were given. So we requested 8 foot in length tables that would be having a steel black frame and that would have an extended tabletop to accommodate wheelchair access. So you'll see through the report is the picture of the successful bidder. And the RFP returned with 12 RFP documents were picked up with 11 being requested from Bid and Go and one directly. 6 companies responded with 8 proposals, so more than one proposal for 2 companies were put forward. The list of the breakdown for the costings of the picnic tables, and this is the range for the prices in the attached list. So the one picnic table was started on the left column, and then the 15 tables were on the right. So that's how that broke down. New World Park Solutions was the lowest bidder, and the request for proposal listed a completion date of August 29th, 2025. So based on the amounts that were in the table from this bid, staff would like to put forward that we go ahead and purchase 10 tables. And the amount of the 10 tables is $15,022. Shipping is on top of that, plus an artwork fee. And then the non-refundable HST would bring the total to $17,021.40, which is over budget by $2,000. But we would like to go ahead and purchase that using the unallocated reserve for recreation. And that will cover the difference and recommended from our treasurer. So if you have any questions, I believe the picture of the table is down below. And I am going to put out a poster, which one of our summer students has just put together for us. I'm going to send out a poster to all of our recreation groups, some of our community groups. If they want to get in on and purchase tables with us, it may increase the purchase number of these tables. We do have a tight turnaround though to meet the August 29th deadline once I reach out to the company to say that we're going ahead with this. So if they can get me a yes, we can go in on it. We may get a few extra tables sponsored by those groups, and we'll go from there. So right now the poster has the price that you see on there, just over $2,200. It could be lower if the amount comes back with the multiples of tables that we can shift and order from there. So if anybody has any questions.
Good. I'll go to the mover first. Councillor Bell.
Yeah, just 2 questions. With the accessible or the accessibility of these picnic tables being kind of the prime mover of this, do we have locations that are accessible to put these into at our parks and that sort of thing? Like if somebody shows up in a wheelchair, wants to access these picnic tables that are being advertised as accessible, do we have the accessible locations to put these in?
So the locations are going to primarily have to be located close to structures that would sufficiently cover that. We've looked into it with staff and the purchase cost of some of the what they consider accessible features as I'm sorry, I'm losing my word. It's like chips of sawdust, chips of wood. Is actually considered accessible. So we have looked into costs of that to be able to create a path to make them accessible, alternatively to gravel or what is required. So those are things that we can do in the meantime. But right now, all of the picnic tables in our parks, for a good majority of them, all need to be replaced. So this is a good start in the majority of those tables, and we're going to make sure that we can get these to the locations that need them.
Yeah, that's great. And then just the one other, because it is a significant cost at $17,000 for picnic tables. Have you reached out to anybody that's ordered these specific tables in the past and just touch base with them on longevity or durability, that type of thing?
These specific tables, no, I have not. I know that the Township of Madawaska Valley just purchased a significant number of picnic tables. They look similar to these, but not the same brand. They're quite happy with their tables. They haven't had any vandalism up until a little bit ago, but somebody decided a lighter was fun. Besides that, there's been no issues with their tables, so I'm not expecting anything. They are, I believe when I looked at the specs, they were over 200 pounds, so they're quite heavy.
Excellent. Seconder, Councillor Trim.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to the manager, I didn't notice it reading through your presentation, but the tables come fully assembled, or do we require some assembly?
No, they'll require assembly. Yeah, that'll be done by staff.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Any other questions from members of council? Good. And treasurer, just from my perspective, what is available in the unallocated recreational reserve? What does this diminish it to?
Off the top of my head, I believe there was about 40,000 left unearmarked at this current point in time. So this should bring it down to about 38,000.
Okay. Good. I don't see any other questions, so we're going to call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Good. I got 7 minutes left. CAO, do you think I can get through 9.4?
Yeah, I think we presented, and if we go over, then we'll go over, and it will just proceed immediately after.
Outstanding. Good.
Thanks.
Ice plant control panel. The recommendation is that the Council of Township Whitewater Region approve the award of RFP 2025-16 Cobden Arena Ice Plant Control Panel to AC Mechanical Refrigeration Limited at a cost of $45,079.68, inclusive of non-refundable HST. A mover and a seconder, please. I'm going to get it moved by Councillor Tabbert, seconded by Councillor Bell. Excellent. Back to manager of community services, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar to the picnic tables, we had an RFP put out for assignment, which included basic like-for-like replacement of the control panel at the Cobden Arena. We also wanted to leave some space for some upgrade consideration, so that was also included in the proposal that was put out. Set aside originally was $70,000 in this fund to be able to cover the cost of this panel. And the only bid that came back was at a cost of $45,079.68, inclusive of non-refundable HST. There were 9 RFP documents picked up. No questions were received and no addendum was issued for this tender. It did close back in May, the beginning of May, sorry. And AC Mechanical Refrigeration is also the company who currently is in our facility in Cobden doing our plant maintenance. And they were the only company who put forward a bid. So that's where we are looking to go ahead with the award of this tender, $45,079.68, inclusive of non-refundable HST.
Excellent. Thank you. Mover is Councillor Tabbert. Any questions or comments?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Good. Seconder, Councillor Bell. Good. Anyone else? Yes, Councillor Moore.
Just wondering if this is replacing original equipment, and if so, can we expect another 35 years out of the new equipment?
I think it's 20 years. I don't think it's 35, but yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect. I'll just throw one question. Any hypothesis why only one bid on this type of work?
I'm not sure. Actually, we did put it out through Bid and Go. There were quite a few companies that picked it up. I don't know. Yeah.
Good. Doesn't trigger anything else. Good. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor? And it's carried unanimously. Thank you. Keep going. Excellent. 9.5 is the partnership and recreation facility agreements. So this recommendation to the Council of Township Whitewater Region authorize the township to execute 1, amending agreements with the Beachburg Agricultural Society and the Cobden Agricultural Society to extend the term to May 31st, 2027. 2, amending facility agreements with the Beachburg Recreation Association and the Westmeath and District Recreation Association to extend the term to May 31st, 2027. And a facility agreement with the Foresters Falls Athletic Association for the maintenance and operations of the Foresters Falls outdoor rink and ball field facilities, subject to the final approval of the Chief Administration Officer. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Bell, seconded by Councillor Olmsted. This is going to Manager Community Services.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, so we've entered into and starting to receive some of the reports that came back from the groups who were managing the facilities in Beachburg and Westmeath this in Beachburg. to move forward with our agreements. Based on the decision that was made in 2024, the agreements were drafted and confirmed with some of the best case scenarios for these user groups. And with the spirit of the agreement, trying to move forward with ICE in more than one location for our community in Whitewater. So we engaged with the Agricultural Society, the Recreation Associations, and on top of that, we wanted to, in this round, also include Cobden Agricultural Society and the Foresters Falls Athletic Association, as they do operate our facilities as well. So the township, as results of our previous agreements, is still committed to maintaining the necessary capital investment in the facilities themselves, the roof, the walls, anything until the end of its useful life. The things that we're looking at in the arenas we're not committed to is the ice operations, meaning the plant rooms, the components for the ice resurfacer, all of those things. So none of this is changing going into the next term. We did also include, as part of this report, the reports that returned from Dillon Consulting, as well as the ORFA, just for council to know that we did move forward with those, and we did have that information entering into these agreements going forward into the next term. We're looking to extend these for 2 ice seasons based on what came back in the 2 reports from companies. We're comfortable with a 2-year agreement at this point, looking for a longer term going through into the next agreement. Operating the ice is a priority in these communities, and we don't want to lose sight of the fact that these are big capital investments and some of the things that were noted in those reports. And we're working with them in complete cooperation at this point. The outstanding items going forward to these new agreements will still remain the same as what they were in 2024. We're giving each organization an opportunity to present what their request is going into this new term. And then also communication on plant room operations and some of their agreements for what they plan to renovate going forward to meet some of the requirements that we had put forward to them based on the reports that were driven. So the first round of agreements set to expire the end of May, and then following that, Westmeath the end of June. But we're looking to go ahead and have the CAO, the assigning authority on those new agreements. That's all I have to say. Is there anything anybody has any questions for?
Thank you. Councillor Bell, I'll give you the first opportunity as the mover.
Yeah, no, I think that all sounds good. It's nice to look forward. I know there's obviously major capital that needs to go into these buildings like we've talked about, but as it was laid out by Dylan, in the next 2 years, seems like everything's okay. And they were, I think it was pretty successful for both rec organizations operating this year. So if we can continue that and allow them to continue making it work, I'm happy to try to facilitate that as best as possible.
Good. And seconder, Councillor Olmsted.
Yeah, similar to Councillor Bell, nice to see the apparent success they're having in Beachburg running the operation, and we'll facilitate that as best we can. But I completely agree with all those comments. Thank you.
Good. Any other comments or questions from other members of council? Good. I would just add, I think it's great to have added the Agricultural Society from Cobden and Foresters Falls. I think that puts them all in the same formality of the relationship between themselves and the township. I think that's a great step. I had 2 questions. The first one is that in the report, it mentions the surplus deficit that could be used to grant back to the agreement holders. I'm just curious, is that out of capital or operating? And is it specific to surpluses in rec only?
Yes, it is. So whenever we completed the budget for 2025, we left a small amount to each repairs and maintenance line for the overall building repairs and maintenance. $15,000 was earmarked. So what the idea would be is that if there's any surpluses there for anything that has to be done with the building specifically, that those could be then attributed to a grant piece or as a request through that, because it has already been budgeted for. If no repairs and maintenance have come up by the year end that we need to spend that money on, then we could, the council, at council's discretion, allocate some funds of that towards grants to those specific organizations for repairs and maintenance they may be partaking in to do the repairs and maintenance for the ice surface, since the council itself is not partaking in that specific area of repair. That was the thought behind that one.
Perfect. So just to highlight, it's not council, it's a smaller group highlighted in the report. So it's limited to the operating or the maintenance funds allocated to the two facilities, the Westmeath and the Beachburg
That's correct, yes.
facilities. Okay. There is no opportunity for the other organizations to make a bid on surpluses.
Not originally discussed with the manager of community services, but potentially something we could look into.
Okay, good. I just wanted, doesn't trigger anything from anyone else. And I just wanted to make sure that for any of the facilities, we're confirming that the safe operating is a condition upon in all of these agreements. They're not able to operate them unless they're operated to a identified safe operating level. I didn't use the proper language, but can someone correct me?
Probably the right language.
Standard for ice production or whatever it is. Fair? Good. Excellent. I just wanted to make sure we had that. If there's nothing else, we'll call for a vote. All those in favor? It's carried, unanimous. Thank you. Good. What we'll do is we're just going to pause as the clerk pulls up our consultants and sets them up here on our TV screens for both our viewing pleasure, YouTube's viewing pleasure, and the members in the audience. So it'll just be a 1 or 2 minute pause in place. If you have to leave, I have quorum, so I'm good. As long as I keep 4 people here.